people. Okay, I totally work on serendipity, which is I might just be in a room and I'll just sniff out a sense. I know an interesting person. I'm going to go and talk to them. So I'm very open to sort of intuition about. So I don't think I need to talk to the president of the Vancouver Foundation. I never do that. But I happen to be on a hike and I think, oh, that's an interesting person. It turns out, well, it is the president of Vancouver Foundation. Funny how that works. So I listen, yeah. Gathering mentors. I think some of the most important things for me has been having people that believe in you, that have done sort of what you've done before, and really not being afraid to be very honest about what you don't know. Because people who have got a wealth of experience are always so delighted to share it. That's what I noticed. They're just dying to be asked. So I've done it. I've gone up to famous writers and famous artists. I remember when I was a little girl, I phoned up this wonderful artist called Mafan Republic, who died. I just loved a painting of hers. I saw in a gallery, so I phoned her up and I said, can I come and see you? She said, she was so delighted because people didn't think about phoning her up and saying, can I come see the painting? So I just phone people up and just go and see them. Is that if you're fighting something very big like a political system and you can't make any inroads into it and you've tried your best, is there something that you can do to set up a parallel system? So another wonderful example is that the World Bank is there, and then this person had this idea once about microfinancing and they set up the Grameen Bank, and it's now the equivalent. So you can have an idea. For me, it's about doing due diligence. You try your best within the system, and if the system simply is not going to work for you, and it often doesn't because, well, I'll give the example of politics. It's a system that was set up in a very difficult structure for a lot of women to cope with. And I've realized, you can do your best to try and shift something, but at some stage, certain institutions might actually become redundant. And so another way of looking at it is to set up a parallel system. So you might be setting up a parallel system of governance, but it might be something even like in very simple things. You're working with your children in a school and you've come up against a block with a particular person. You can actually do it in a very respectful way, just set up something that doesn't, you don't have to go through water. And I've always done that. I just look for a different way through, yeah.
Where do you get your courage from there?
I realized that I have a really limited imagination about failure. So I never think about the consequences of what I do. Which is actually, I realize, is actually personality type. I think a lot of it was because of my parents. And the example I always give is that if one of us said, I'm going to go to the moon, my father said, well, I'll help you build the rocket. And my mother would have said, well, I'll help you pack your lunch. That was the kind of parents I had. It just never occurred to me that you couldn't do something. So it was just a question of deciding how to do it, ask the right people, and then just do it. And then you realize why people don't do it. My philosophy in life is that everything I do, I think about the environment that I'm working in and all the people that are there and all the different sort of processes that are in place, whether it's going into a job or whether it's a relationship, that you're essentially like a squirrel going into a forest. You've got a particular niche, you've got a particular type of thing that you do, and then all around you are these different organisms, and some are predators, and some are your prey, and some are symbiotic, and there's little niches for you, and other places it's completely hostile. And when I think like that, it makes every situation I don't take it personally. If I go in there and I fail, it's because I was a squirrel trying to be a affiliated woodpecker. So I think that was dumb. Or I go in there and I think, okay, in this particular instance, I'm going to be the mycorrhizal fungi. I'm going to go underground and I'm going to connect people up. Because I feel like going undercover for a while, and I'm not going to be the affiliated woodpecker kind of banging his head against. So I kind of decide who I'm going to be in a particular. And the metaphor for that is that in the last year I was like the woodpecker, sort of out there, and this year I'm going underground. So I'm really tired of knocking my head against and I'm about making connections underground and connecting people.
About your eco-home and how you manage to carry out certain alternative sources of energy and other alternatives?
I had my old editor, James McKinnon, wrote the book 100 Mile Diet, and so when I was going to build my house, I thought, oh, that's such a perfect way of thinking about building a house. So I just set out a principle. Everything has to come from within 100 miles and be sustainable. So I had a wonderful young builder. It was his first house, and he and I just did this project. And our motto was, if we have to go to Windsor and lumber, we failed. And so we just found things. We just went around, and everything was. And it was, again, I sort of like, you know, meeting key people. You just put it out in the universe that you try to find something, and then it turns up, sort of. It's just that you put out this kind of joyfulness and sort of a project. And so the other theme of the house was to limit the impact, both in terms of the materials that I was using, but also the energy that I was going to be consuming. And, you know, we didn't get everything within 100 miles, but a lot of it. And we found a local guy that had just come up with a way of recycling all your water, including your black water, into your, and then we got solar water heater. But by and large, the thing for me was making sure that none of the materials were really, you weren't logging old growth forest to make this boat. So everything was salvaged. All the driftwood and the cedar was salvaged. And yeah, it was made with love. It's a very loving house. And actually, I forgot to say, the number one principle was to treat everybody that worked on the house with the respect and dignity that they deserved. And so I think one of the nicest things is that when people come to the house, they say, it just feels so happy. And I said, well, the people that worked on this house sang the whole time, because I realized that the building industry is a very toxic industry. Men are treated badly. And I just treated them very well, and we had coffees and donuts just about every day, and checked in, and so the policy of respectfulness, I think, is, and then that translated to the environment, because they got it. They loved not working with toxic substances. They loved being able to, you know, if they couldn't find something, go down to the beach and get it off the beach, come back with driftwood, and then it would be this beautiful shape, and there was a great story attached. And it was just that we made stories. Everything in the house has got a story.